Imagine this. You wake up on a Wednesday morning. Your alarm goes off, your phone lights up, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is already running. Emails, messages, deadlines, expectations. There's a quiet pressure in your chest, telling you that today has to be productive. That today has to count. But something feels off. You haven't done anything yet. And somehow, you already feel exhausted. Not sleepy, not lazy, just completely drained, like your brain woke up tired. So you lie there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, and a thought crosses your mind. Why do I feel like this when the day hasn't even started? If that question feels familiar, I want you to pause for a second. Seriously, pause and think about it. And if this is something you felt before, drop a comment like, "I feel this." Because you're not alone in this experience. What you're feeling might not just be tiredness. It might be burnout. And here's what most people don't realize. Burnout isn't loud. It doesn't always show up as a dramatic breakdown or a big emotional moment. Most of the time, burnout is quiet. It creeps in slowly. It shows up when you open your laptop and your mind feels foggy. When you read the same sentence multiple times and still can't focus. When you start several tasks but can't seem to finish any of them. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different. That you'll have more energy, more focus, more motivation. But then tomorrow comes, and the same heaviness is still there. And after a while, something dangerous starts to happen. End quote, end quote. You stop questioning what's causing it, and you start blaming yourself instead. You think maybe you're just lazy. Maybe you're not disciplined enough. Maybe everyone else is somehow stronger than you. But the truth is this. Burnout is not a personal failure. It's a signal. Your mind is trying to tell you that you've been carrying too much for too long. So let me ask you something honestly. Have you been pushing yourself non-stop lately? Have you been running without really stopping? If the answer is yes, take a second to like or save this. Because you might need to come back to it later, when things feel overwhelming again. Now here's something even deeper. Burnout isn't always caused by working too much. Sometimes, it comes from trying too hard to prove that you're enough. Think about how your day usually begins. You wake up, grab your phone, and start scrolling. You see people posting about their achievements, their routines, their progress. And without even realizing it, your mind starts comparing. A quiet thought appears, I should be doing more. So you push yourself harder. You drink more coffee, sleep less, and say yes to responsibilities even when you're already overwhelmed. At first, it feels productive. You feel busy, active, even motivated. But slowly, your energy starts to fade. Things you once enjoyed begin to feel like obligations. Your patience gets shorter. Your mind feels constantly tired, even when you're not doing anything. And deep down, you can't fully explain why. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually felt excited about your day? Not just busy, not just distracted, not just getting through it, but genuinely excited. If it's been a while, that's something worth paying attention to. Because instead of giving you another productivity trick or a stricter routine, I want to offer something different. 7 simple habits, not complicated, not trendy, just small changes that can help your mind breathe again. The first one is something I call the morning nope list. Most people start their day by writing a to-do list. Everything they need to accomplish. Everything they feel behind on. But when you're already mentally exhausted, that kind of list can feel overwhelming before your day even begins. So instead, try starting your day with a list of things you will not do. A nope list. This is how you protect your mental space before the world starts taking from it. Maybe today you won't check work emails immediately after waking up. Maybe you won't argue with strangers online. Maybe you won't compare your life to people on social media. Maybe you won't say yes to something when you don't truly have the energy for it. It may sound simple, but it's powerful, because burnout often comes from feeling like you can't stop giving your time, your attention, your emotional energy. But when you create boundaries, even small ones, your mind starts to feel safer and calmer. Sometimes taking care of yourself isn't about doing more. Sometimes it's about carrying less. Now, the second habit might feel uncomfortable at first. It's called the do-nothing hour. Every day, give yourself 1 hour where you are not trying to accomplish anything. You're not working, not planning, not improving yourself, and not chasing productivity. You're simply existing. You might sit quietly, listen to music, take a slow walk, or just look out the window. At first, your mind might resist this. Many people feel guilty when they rest, because they believe rest has to be earned. They think they can only relax after everything is finished. But your brain is not a machine designed to work endlessly. It's part of a living system, and living systems require recovery. Without recovery, stress doesn't disappear, it accumulates. Day after day, week after week, until one morning you wake up and your mind feels heavy and unclear. Rest is not a reward for productivity. It is maintenance for your mind. So here's a question for you. Do you allow yourself to rest without guilt? Or do you only rest when you feel like you've earned it? Take a moment and really think about that, because in the next part, we're going deeper. We're going to talk about the 5-minute reset. Why joy is not optional, but necessary. And one simple question that can completely change the way you see your own worth. So if this resonates with you, stay with me. Because what comes next might be exactly what you didn't know you needed. Now let's continue. Earlier, we talked about how burnout builds quietly through constant pressure, endless responsibilities, and the feeling that you always have to keep going. But there's another reason people burn out that often gets overlooked. they slowly forget how to feel joy. Not big, dramatic happiness. Not life-changing moments. Just small, simple experiences that make life feel lighter. And when those moments disappear, everything starts to feel heavy. That's why the third habit is something very small, but incredibly powerful. The 5-minute reset. When life feels overwhelming, most people try to fix everything all at once. They decide to clean their entire space, reorganize their life, build a new routine, and solve all their problems in one burst of motivation. But when you're burned out, your brain doesn't have the energy for big changes. So instead of trying to do everything, focus on something small. Just 5 minutes. Clean one surface, reply to one message, organize one small area. That's it. Because small actions do something important. They restore a sense of control. When everything feels chaotic, completing even one small task reminds your brain that progress is still possible. You are not stuck. You are not incapable. You're just tired. Let me ask you something. When you feel overwhelmed, do you try to fix everything at once? Or do you shut down completely? If you're being honest, drop a quick comment, all or nothing, or shut down. I'm curious which one you relate to more. Now here's something even deeper. Burnout isn't just about stress or responsibilities. Sometimes, it's about what's missing. And one of the biggest things missing in adult life is play. As we grow older, we slowly remove play from our daily lives. Work becomes serious, schedules become full, and responsibilities take over everything. Life turns into a checklist, and without realizing it, we stop doing things just because they feel good. That's why the fourth habit is called scheduled joy. This means intentionally making time for something that has no productive purpose. Something playful. Something light. It could be singing in your car, drawing randomly in a notebook, cooking something new just for fun, or taking a walk with no destination. The activity itself doesn't matter. What matters is the message you send to your brain. Life is not only about responsibilities. Because psychologically, joy is not optional. It activates parts of your brain connected to creativity, emotional recovery, and resilience. Without it, your mind slowly becomes rigid and exhausted. So think about this. When was the last time you did something just for fun, with no goal attached? If nothing comes to mind, that might be exactly what you need right now. The fifth habit is something equally important: human connection. Burnout gets worse when you feel alone. And when people feel overwhelmed, they often withdraw. They stop replying to messages, avoid calls, and convince themselves they have to handle everything on their own. But humans are not designed that way. We are built for connection. That's why it's important to have at least 3 people in your life that you truly trust. Not a huge circle. Not hundreds of acquaintances. Just 3. People who understand you. People who notice when something feels off. People who will listen without judgment. Think of them as your emotional safety net. Because when life feels too heavy, talking to someone who truly understands you, you can immediately reduce stress. It doesn't fix everything, but it reminds your brain of something powerful. You're not alone. So here's a quick question. Nadiyan ya ang kasing bastin in your light. Nadiyan ya ang ganting nazi. Nanhap si bakastin and kasing batinting vazi. Do you have those 3 people in your life? If yes, think about who they are. If not, maybe it's time to start building those connections. Now let's talk about something most people avoid. Processing emotions. We live in a world that moves fast. People are constantly working, responding, reacting, and handling responsibilities. But very few people actually stop and ask, how do I really feel? And here's the problem. Emotions don't disappear when you ignore them. They build up. Stress, frustration, disappointment, sadness. They sit quietly in the background until they become too heavy to carry. That's why the 6th habit is creating space to process your emotions regularly. For some people, that looks like journaling. For others, it's sitting in silence and reflecting. Sometimes, it's simply allowing yourself to cry when everything finally surfaces. And there is nothing weak about that. Emotions need an outlet. If they stay trapped inside for too long, they often turn into numbness or burnout. So ask yourself, when was the last time you actually checked in with how you feel? Not distracted, not rushing, just honest. And now, the final habit. This might be the most powerful one of all. It's a simple question. What would I do differently today? End quotes. Any padonaju unach nap USN80. End quotes. What would I do differently today if I believed I was already enough? Take a moment with that. Because a lot of burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from trying to prove your worth. People exhaust themselves, chasing validation, recognition, and approval. They feel like they have to earn their right to rest, to feel good, to exist. But what if your value isn't something you have to prove? What if it already exists? If you truly believed that, how would your day change? Maybe you would rest without guilt. Maybe you would stop pushing yourself to exhaustion, just to impress others. Maybe you would speak to yourself with more patience, more kindness. Burnout often grows from the belief that we are never enough. But your worth is not a productivity score. You are not a machine designed to constantly produce. You are human. You feel. You think. You care. You get overwhelmed. You recover. That's not weakness. That's being alive. So if you see yourself anywhere in this, remember this. You don't have to reach complete exhaustion before you start taking care of yourself. You don't need permission to slow down. You don't have to prove anything to deserve rest. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause. Take a breath. Drink some water. Step outside. Let your mind recover, because the world may reward constant productivity, but your mind needs compassion. And protecting your mental health is not weakness, it's wisdom. If this resonated with you, I want to hear from you. Which habit do you feel like you need the most right now? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who's been feeling overwhelmed lately, share this with them. You never know who might need to hear this today.